The forest was still, as if holding its breath. A soft gust of wind rustled through the treetops, barely disturbing the delicate canopy of leaves. A barred owl sat silently on a branch, her amber eyes scanning the ground below. She was alert, vigilant, on the lookout for any sign of danger. But what truly concerned her at that moment was the lack of food. Her 3 nearly fledged chicks, perched precariously on a branch nearby, ruffled their downy feathers and let out tiny, plaintive cries. Their tiny beaks, still tipped with the remnants of their egg tooth, quivered in the air. The owl's heart ached at the sight of their emaciated forms, their once plump bellies now concave and almost transparent. The owl had been hunting tirelessly for days, her every waking moment devoted to finding enough food to sustain her young. But the forest seemed to have grown quiet, as if it had sensed the dire straits of her family. She had managed to bring back the occasional mouse or rabbit, but it was not nearly enough. Her chicks were growing weaker by the hour. With a sigh, she took flight once more, her powerful wings carrying her silently through the air. Her keen ears picked up the distant call of a squirrel, and she veered in its direction. Her talons closed around a branch as she glided toward the ground, her wings folding back in. The forest floor rushed up to meet her, and she landed silently on a log, her amber eyes fixed on the unsuspecting prey. The squirrel, unaware of the danger, continued to scurry about its business, unaware of the predator lurking nearby. The owl's heart hammered in her chest as she prepared to pounce, her muscles tensing. In a flash, she launched herself at the squirrel, talons extended. The squirrel let out a startled cry as the owl's claws closed around its body, crushing its spine instantly. The struggle was over in a heartbeat. With her prey secure in her talons, the owl flew back to her brood, careful not to make any noise that might attract unwanted attention. As she approached the branch where her chicks waited, their tiny beaks opening and closing in anticipation, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. She landed deftly on the branch, gently lowering the squirrel onto the ground in front of them, careful not to make any noise that might attract unwanted attention. As she approached the branch where her chicks waited, their tiny beaks opening and closing in anticipation, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. She landed deftly on the branch, gently lowering the squirrel onto the ground in front of them. Her chicks tore into the flesh of the squirrel with abandon, their tiny beaks and claws working in tandem to tear off pieces of meat. The owl watched them for a moment, a satisfied smile tugging at the corners of her beak. It wasn't much, but it would have to do for now. She knew that tomorrow she would have to face the challenge of hunting once more, and the cycle would continue. But for now, she was content to watch her children grow stronger, one meal at a time. The barred owl glanced up at the canopy of leaves above them, her keen eyes scanning for any signs of danger. The forest seemed to have grown quiet once more, as if it too were aware of the struggle for survival that was playing out before it. She knew that soon enough the animals would return, and the forest would once again fill with the sounds of life. Until then, she would remain vigilant, protecting her young with every fiber of her being. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest floor, the owl and her chicks settled in for the night. The chicks nestled close together, their feathers fluffed out for warmth. The owl perched on a branch nearby, her eyes never leaving her brood. She knew that sleep would be hard to come by, but she was prepared to sacrifice her own rest in order to ensure their safety. With the last rays of light fading from the sky, the owl let out a soft, reassuring hoot, calling her mate to her side. He answered from somewhere deep in the forest, his own voice carrying through the darkness. The owl turned back to her chicks, her expression softening. She would not have chosen this life for them, but she was grateful for the chance to be their mother, to watch them grow and thrive, despite the challenges they faced. And she would do whatever it took to ensure their survival, even if it meant giving up her own comfort and rest. As the night wore on, the barred owl remained vigilant, her eyes never once closing, her wings ready to lift her into the air at a moment's notice. For now, her family was safe. Tomorrow, she would face the world once more, and continue the endless cycle of hunting and protecting. But for tonight, she would cherish the quiet moments they shared beneath the stars, the warmth of her young bodies surrounding her, and the knowledge that, despite everything, they were alive.